The UFC world was shaken by massive news when Dana White confirmed long-swirling rumors about an unprecedented White House UFC event. What once seemed like wild speculation is now quickly turning into reality as UFC President Dana White revealed never-before-seen details and visuals of how the historic card will unfold. At the center of the excitement is none other than Conor McGregor, who confirmed he will finally square off against Michael Chandler in one of the biggest fights in UFC history. During a recent media interaction, McGregor made it crystal clear that he is all in for the fight. "I'm on it. This is me." Michael Chandler, McGregor stated with his usual confidence. Chandler, who has been campaigning for this showdown for months, is set to meet McGregor in front of one of the most unique backdrops ever seen in combat sports, the White House lawn. While the UFC has yet to officially stamp the fight on its website, Dana White has left little room for doubt. He expressed positivity about the matchup, pointing out that Chandler, being American, was always a near lock to appear on the White House card. With both stars aligned, the atmosphere surrounding this announcement feels electric. Still, as any fan knows, with Conor McGregor, nothing is truly certain until the octagon door closes. But the McGregor-Chandler fight wasn't the only groundbreaking update. Dana White appeared on Fox Sports and unveiled photos of the planned White House setup. The images showcased where fighters will make their walkouts, the placement of the octagon, and an elaborate lighting design that frames the White House itself in the background. White explained that when the cameras rotate, the Washington Monument will also serve as a dramatic visual centerpiece, giving the event a cinematic feel unlike anything the sport has ever seen. The UFC is going all in to make this card legendary. The plan is to pack it with American star power, featuring names like Sean Strickland, Kayla Harrison, Bo Nickel, and other rising fighters. White described the production as a massive operation, noting the careful planning needed to balance spectacle with safety. One major logistical challenge is the size and weight of the octagon. According to White, the cage weighs around 15,000 pounds, and planners are still determining how much the White House lawn can support. Early estimates suggest seating will be limited to under 5,000 people, making this one of the most exclusive live events in UFC history. However, the UFC isn't leaving fans out. White revealed there will be giant screens and a festival-like setup across nearby areas, capable of hosting as many as 85,000 spectators. Attendees will enjoy live music performances throughout the day, with stages and bands creating a carnival atmosphere leading up to the fights. Fans will even be able to bring blankets, relax on the grass, and watch the action unfold on massive outdoor screens. From the carefully staged visuals to the ambitious scale of production, Dana White made it clear the UFC intends to deliver one of the most iconic combat sports events ever. With Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler headlining the card and the White House as its backdrop, this event is shaping up to be a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. Before moving on to the next news, we have a quick request for you. We're always working to improve our content and truly value your support. If you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon, it would mean a lot to us. That way you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. The UFC world is never short of drama, and this time the spotlight has shifted to Ilia Topuria, the reigning featherweight champion who has been accused of fabricating a luxurious lifestyle for the cameras. The criticism comes from lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan, who believes Topuria's social media presence paints an exaggerated picture of wealth and success. The controversy erupted after Topuria shared a photo of himself posing with both the UFC featherweight belt and the BMF title in front of a private jet. The image, clearly designed to project opulence and dominance, sparked reactions across the MMA community. While some fans applauded Topuria for living the dream, Tsarukyan was quick to call out what he believes is a facade. In a recent interview, Tsarukyan didn't mince his words. He argued that Topuria is trying to make it look like he lives an insanely rich lifestyle, but in reality, he thinks the champion is far from as wealthy as he portrays. According to Tsarukyan, Topuria doesn't have the financial power to charter private jets regularly and is more likely flying on commercial airlines just like everyone else. Flying private isn't as easy as snapping a photo and posting it online, Tsarukyan explained. A round trip on a private jet from America to Europe or Georgia would cost around $400,000 to $500,000. Even if Ilia has made $2 to $3 million so far in his UFC career, spending nearly $500,000 on a single trip is not realistic. That kind of money goes fast when you factor in training expenses, coaches, management, taxes, and everyday living costs. Tsarukyan's comments have reignited a wider debate in the MMA community about fighters' portrayals of wealth on social media. Unlike boxing, where superstars can rake in tens of millions for a single fight, MMA purses remain relatively modest for most fighters, even champions. While pay-per-view stars like Conor McGregor and Jon Jones have achieved significant financial success, many other champions operate on far smaller margins. Critics argue that Topuria's carefully curated images, complete with expensive cars, private jets, and luxury brands, are designed to build a persona rather than reflect reality. In the modern age of combat sports, image and branding can often be as important as in-cage performance. Fighters know that projecting wealth and success can attract sponsorships, fan attention, and influence, even if the reality behind the scenes is far less glamorous. On the other hand, some of Topuria's supporters defend him, pointing out that it is common in professional sports to showcase the highlights of one's life. They argue that posting photos with jets and titles doesn't necessarily mean he is pretending, but rather celebrating milestones and projecting the star power he has worked hard to achieve. Still, Tsarukyan's remarks add fuel to the rivalry between fighters, highlighting the tension not only inside the octagon, but also in how athletes compete for status and image outside of it. Whether Topuria is truly living a millionaire's life, or simply presenting one on social media, one thing is clear: the debate has captured the attention of fans worldwide. In the end, the accusations may not damage Topuria's star power, but could place more scrutiny on how UFC fighters market themselves in an age where perception often trumps reality. Move on to another news. Fresh off his knockout victory over Luke Rockhold, former UFC star Darren Till is once again making headlines, this time for his comments on a rumored boxing clash with controversial internet personality and former kickboxing champion Andrew Tate. Rumors of the fight have been circulating for months, with fans eager to see whether the outspoken Tate, who built his name both in combat sports and online notoriety, would ever step into the ring against an elite mixed martial artist like Till. However, Till has poured some cold water on the speculation, admitting in a recent interview that while the matchup has been discussed, he doubts it will ever materialize. Speaking on Demetrius Johnson's YouTube channel, Till acknowledged Tate's combat background, but questioned the feasibility of the fight. "Look, Andrew Tate didn't have a bad kickboxing career, he was okay. He didn't reach the absolute top level, but the guy can fight. He's a big dude, a heavyweight who packs a punch. I think he'd do pretty well in boxing," Till admitted. Despite the respect he showed toward Tate's fighting ability, Till was quick to distance himself from the idea of actually facing him in the ring. "Unless the money is right, I don't see myself fighting Andrew Tate. I think he wants to stay away from me altogether. He knows I'm a little unhinged, and he doesn't want to risk losing that top guppy aura, that ego he's built up," Till explained. Till suggested that Tate's carefully crafted image as an undefeated alpha male might prevent him from accepting fights that could tarnish his reputation. "He doesn't want that taken away from him. He's got this massive following, and I don't think he wants to put it all on the line by fighting someone like me," Till added. That being said, the Liverpool-born fighter acknowledged the intrigue surrounding the matchup. "It's a good back and forth. I invite it. I enjoy the banter. But realistically, I don't think Tate's ever gonna step in the ring with me," he said. Till also recognized Tate's credentials, noting that he has trained with respected names in the combat sports community, including Liam Harrison, one of the greatest Muay Thai fighters of all time. This, according to Till, validates Tate's legitimacy as a fighter, even if he never became a world-class champion in kickboxing. Meanwhile, Demetrius Johnson chimed in during the conversation, pointing out that Tate has the financial resources to prepare properly for a boxing match if he ever wanted to pursue it. "He has all the money in the world, he can build a great facility, hire world-class coaches, and get himself ready. If he's serious about boxing, he'll do just fine," Johnson said. In the end, Till's remarks strike a balance between respect and skepticism. He acknowledges Tate's combat experience and physical tools, but firmly believes that the internet star will avoid risking his carefully constructed image against a fighter with Till's skill and unpredictability. For now, fans will have to settle for speculation and social media exchanges. Whether Darren Till versus Andrew Tate ever becomes a reality remains uncertain, but it's clear that the fight would generate massive attention and headlines across both combat sports and mainstream media. Move on to another news. The build-up to UFC 320 is heating up, and so is the conversation surrounding the highly anticipated rematch between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. Recently, Pereira made headlines when he stated that if he defeats Ankalaev in their rematch, he doesn't see the need for a trilogy fight. According to the Brazilian star, the second fight will be decisive enough to close the chapter once and for all. Naturally, such a statement caught the attention of former UFC middleweight champion and current analyst Michael Bisping, who wasted no time giving his take. Known for his candid and sharp breakdowns, Bisping acknowledged Pereira's confidence but reminded fans that combat sports are rarely that simple. "Look, there are always two sides to this story," Bisping said. "Yes, Pereira has every right to believe that if he wins convincingly, he doesn't owe Ankalaev another shot. But let's not forget, most people thought Magomed Ankalaev won the first fight. If Pereira evens the score in the rematch, that sets us up perfectly for a rubber match to determine the true better fighter." Adding to the narrative, Pereira's longtime coach and former UFC champion Glover Teixeira has already begun hyping the fight, promising an intense battle from the opening bell. Teixeira emphasized that Pereira is not entering the octagon angry or reckless, but rather focused and relentless. He's mentally locked in, sharp and aggressive. The last few weeks of camp have been about fine-tuning his timing so he can press the pace for 5 full rounds if necessary, Teixeira explained. Interestingly, Teixeira contrasted Pereira's mentality with his own during his fighting career. He admitted that he often felt nerves and doubt before stepping into the cage, whereas Pereira carries himself with calm confidence and absolute belief in his preparation. According to Teixeira, this mindset will allow Pereira to execute a game plan designed to overwhelm Ankalaev from start to finish. Bisping, however, pointed out that Pereira's dismissal of a trilogy could be premature. If Pereira goes out there and dominates Ankalaev, stops him early or makes it look easy, then yes, maybe he can close the door on a third fight. But if this fight is competitive, if it goes the distance, then there's absolutely no way the UFC doesn't book a trilogy. That's how this sport works. Fans want clarity, and a 1-1 record demands a decider. The Englishman stressed that context matters. A close decision or back-and-forth war would only increase demand for a third fight, while a dominant victory for Pereira could make the UFC look elsewhere for fresh challengers. As the fight draws near, UFC 320 is shaping up to be a pivotal event, not just for the light heavyweight division, but for the legacy of both men. With Pereira's explosive striking and Ankalaev's calculated approach, fans are bracing for another high-stakes showdown. Whether this chapter ends with 2 fights or stretches into a full trilogy will depend entirely on what happens inside the octagon. One thing is certain, the drama surrounding this rivalry has already captured the attention of the MMA world, and Michael Bisping's analysis only adds more fuel to the fire. Move on to another news. The world of combat sports witnessed a dramatic moment in Moscow as UFC lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan showcased his elite grappling skills at the Absolute Championship Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ACBJJ 18 event. Facing none other than former UFC lightweight champion Benson Henderson, Tsarukyan secured a stunning submission victory that left the veteran unconscious in the final moments of their match. This was not just an ordinary win for Tsarukyan. The result marked his 3rd grappling victory in just 5 months, proving that he's been consistently testing and sharpening his ground game outside of the UFC octagon. Out of those 3 wins, 2 have come by way of emphatic finishes, and this latest triumph over Henderson may be his most impressive to date. The contest itself was an intense battle of strategy and skill. Both men demonstrated their technical abilities, but as the match progressed, Tsarukyan's composure and calculated pressure became more evident. His transitions were seamless, moving from one position to another with precision, searching for openings while maintaining complete control over the pace of the bout. Commentators noted the calm demeanor of Tsarukyan even in the closing minutes. As he maneuvered into position for the choke, the arena grew tense. "Look how calm he is," one analyst observed, emphasizing the composure that has become a trademark of the young contender. When Tsarukyan finally locked in the submission, it was clear to everyone watching just how tight it was. Within seconds, Henderson went limp, put to sleep before he could tap. The referee quickly stepped in, signaling the end of the match. Henderson, a veteran of countless battles inside the UFC and Bellator cages, was checked on immediately. Fortunately, he recovered moments later, but the outcome was undeniable. Tsarukyan had delivered one of the most memorable grappling finishes of the year. What makes this victory even more significant is the caliber of his opponent. Henderson is not just a former champion, but also a highly respected black belt with years of experience at the highest levels of competition. For Tsarukyan to not only compete with him, but to dominate and finish him, sends a powerful message about where his grappling skills currently stand. The performance also reinforces Tsarukyan's reputation as one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC's lightweight division, known primarily for his wrestling and striking inside the cage. His success on the grappling mats shows the depth of his commitment to evolving as a martial artist. Fans and analysts alike praise the display, calling it a testament to the beauty of grappling. While striking often captures the spotlight in MMA, moments like these remind audiences that ground fighting requires equal measures of technique, patience, and mental sharpness. For Tsarukyan, this is more than just another win, it's a statement. With his eyes still firmly set on climbing the UFC lightweight rankings, he continues to build momentum by proving he can excel in every facet of combat sports. If his recent grappling run is any indication, opponents inside the octagon should prepare for an even more dangerous version of Arman Tsarukyan in the months to come. Move on to another news. The UFC world is buzzing with excitement around the historic White House fight card that Dana White recently teased. Among the many fighters eager to secure a spot on this once-in-a-lifetime event, one name stands out: Khamzat Chimaev. Known for his relentless fighting style, fearless mentality, and ability to dominate opponents across multiple weight classes, Chimaev is making it clear that he wants in on this card, and he's already sending direct signals to UFC President Dana White. It all began with a simple but powerful post on social media. Chimaev, who often uses platforms like X, formerly Twitter, to share cryptic messages with his fans and rivals, recently dropped the classic building emoji. At first glance, the post might seem vague, but for fight fans who follow closely, it was immediately interpreted as a nod toward the White House event. The emoji of a building, especially in the middle of a storm of UFC White House hype, seemed to be Chimaev's way of saying, "I want to be there." The speculation didn't stop there. Shortly after Dana White revealed the renderings of the White House fight setup, complete with an outdoor octagon design that captured the imagination of the entire combat sports world, Chimaev decided to respond publicly. On White's post, the undefeated contender left a comment featuring the pointing finger emoji, a subtle but unmistakable message. It was as if Chimaev was pointing directly at the card, making it clear he believes he belongs on the stage of such a monumental event. For those who know Chimaev, this move is entirely in character. Ever since his breakout in 2020, where he won 2 fights in 10 days, he has carried himself with the confidence of a fighter destined for greatness. His bold statements, coupled with his dominant performances inside the octagon, have made him one of the UFC's fastest rising stars. Now, as the promotion looks to put on what Dana White calls the biggest event in combat sports history, Chimaev's desire to participate makes perfect sense. But it's not just about the spectacle. Chimaev has been hungry for big fights and bigger opportunities. He's called out champions and contenders across multiple divisions, showing no fear in challenging anyone, anywhere. Fighting on the White House lawn would not only elevate his career, but also give him the kind of global spotlight that could cement his status as one of the UFC's most marketable stars. Fans quickly caught on to Chimaev's messages, flooding social media with speculation about who his potential opponent could be. Names like Israel Adesanya, Kamaru Usman, and even middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis have been thrown into the mix by fans who dream of seeing Chimaev clash with the very best. For Dana White, the message is crystal clear: Khamzat Chimaev wants to fight on the White House card. With his unbeaten record, massive fan following, and undeniable star power, it's hard to argue against his inclusion. Whether the UFC decides to book him for this historic event remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: Chimaev has already planted his flag, and the fight world is paying attention.